Iran has launched multiple ballistic missiles at Israel, carrying cluster bomb warheads during the ongoing conflict, indiscriminately spreading small bombs in wide areas of that country. The warhead of such missiles opens up while descending and scatters around 20 smaller munitions with around 2.5 kilograms of explosives in a radius of around 8 kilometers, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. The munitions do not have their own propulsion or guidance and simply fall to the ground, where they are designed to explode on impact. Israeli military officials said that such a missile poses a threat to a much wider area with Iran's other ballistic missile warheads, but the explosions from each of the cluster bombs is far smaller. In contrast, Iran's traditional ballistic missile warheads are packed with an estimated 500 kilograms of explosives, which can cause massive damage. Iranian state media has claimed that Iran's Qadr S ballistic missile carries cluster munition warheads. Iran's Qadr S ballistic missile has a range of around 2,000 kilometers. Now, the number and weight of submunitions carried out by each missile varies depending upon its range as well as its propulsion systems, and also Iran has been not disclosing some of it because of the technical details associated with it and to safeguard those details. Western media reports have suggested that Iran's Zolfaghar ballistic missile can also be capable of delivering cluster munitions. Other Iranian missiles may also have been adapted for such payloads. Reports are coming in that Israel has been targeted by cluster munitions on the part of Iran. Ballistic missiles with cluster munitions have been used to target cities in Tel Aviv. There have been reports coming in that some of these bomblets have also fallen and created damage for housing in Tel Aviv as well. The idea behind the cluster warheads is to overcome the drone interceptors as well as missile interceptors that are present in Israel's arsenal. Also, to ensure that there is a wide area of explosion that is in fact taking place. Now, there are questions about the use of cluster bombs, because cluster bombs have a system in which its submunitions are in fact put to the ground, and some of those bomblets that come from the main ammunition do not explode, leading to a situation where unexploded bomblets could be lying there, and even after the war there could be a chance that it could be triggered. Cluster ammunitions are in fact frowned upon in international circles as well, and it's considered to be an humanitarian rights issue as well in several other areas where it has been used. Meanwhile, it is being said that Iran has now changed tactics. Its ballistic missiles have been armed with cluster ammunition as we speak. Iranian state media has claimed that some of its ballistic missiles, such as Iran's Qadr S ballistic missile, carries a cluster munition warhead. Iran's Qadr S ballistic missile has a range of around 2,000 kilometers. The number and weight of the submunitions carried by this missile have not been publicly disclosed for safeguarding the technical details that are associated with its production. Meanwhile, Western media has also suggested that several other missiles within the ballistic missile range of Iran have been adapted to have cluster ammunition warheads, and this has been significantly used against Israeli cities. The ballistic missile with cluster ammunition is an attempt to overcome the air defenses of the Israeli armed forces, so that it could in fact be spread over a large area and could also easily overcome the defense systems. We are now in fact joined in by Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, a defense expert. Praful Bakshi, cluster ammunitions. Now, this is something that is of worrisome nature because on one side, internationally too, there has been efforts to restrict cluster ammunitions because of the long-term impact it has on populations. Even after the war, those bomblets do lie there and it could become problematic. And now Iran is changing tactics. Maybe for the short term, it's trying to look at overcoming the interceptors that Israel uses.
Thank you very much. You brought a very pertinent point, and that is cluster munition. Dublin 2008 bans the cluster munition, especially use of cluster munition in a tactical area. And a lot of countries have signed, but some countries have not signed. That's why they have a provision to follow, and that is, in case a commander is selecting a target, then make sure the target is not next to civilian. When a cluster bomb is dropped, it opens up and 258 to 300 cluster munition come out, weighing probably between 1.5 kilos to 2.5 to 3 kilos each bomblet, which spreads or covers more than 2 football fields, one bomb or even more. Now what happens? These cluster munitions some explode, 13% don't explode, and they keep lying there, and when the cattle, the children and people pass, after years, they keep exploding. That's what you just brought out. And that is why has to be banned. So actually, to tell you the truth, nobody can know until and unless there are military observers from the representing international law in the tactical battle area to tell that what is happening. And in case the pilots have dropped a cluster munition wherever they have dropped, they must mark it on the map. It is mapped there. And it is the commanders who must inform wherever the cluster munition was dropped after the war. Now, these are the rules. But you are very right. Iran is using it. Let me not tell only Iran. A lot of countries have used it, including America, including so many countries. And both Saudi Arabia, America, all these countries have not signed the cluster munition protocol. So this will continue. And millions and billions of cluster munition are lying all over the world, not only here, whether from Cambodia, Middle East, Africa, cluster munition is lying all around. So I personally feel this has to be done by the observers. But we are discussing about the use of cluster munition. We have to make sure that the international humanitarian laws, which are called laws of war, enshrined in the Geneva Conventions, have to be followed by, and countries have signed. Now, this agency has to be, International Committee of Red Cross, which, maintains the teachings about all this. These agencies must be encouraged. They must be brought out. The United Nations should work on it in cooperation, so that the countries are told and observation is done. In case a commander is found violating it, the International Criminal Court can try him. So this is the aspect of cluster munition. But the war which is going on is using other ammunitions also, and other methods of attack, other techniques of attack, which are also banned. We have to be very careful about it. So, but let us hope. And I would like to bring out Iran itself, when it was fighting the 8-day war with Iraq, 8 years war with Iraq, had used banned weapons, both Iraq and Iran, on each other. And mind you, at that time, Iran was supported by Israel. And Israel scientists and technicians were maintaining the arsenal of Iran. So this is the truth behind the whole thing. It is when the countries find political situation in their favor, they act in a different manner. When the situation changes, they act in a different manner. So what was done wrong at one time becomes the right now. So let us not worry about this. But the cluster munition thing which you have brought out is a very, very important thing, which will be used.
Bakshi, is the Iran-Israel war, in fact, getting more dirtier? Because we know that Israelis have used phosphorus bombs earlier for tactical reasons. And now with Iranians coming with cluster bombs, even the Israelis have cluster bombs with them. Is it getting more dirtier, phosphorus and cluster bombs coming out in the open?
Both are banned. Phosphorus also is banned when you use next to a civil area. There is also there, and the cluster munitions are banned. So when Israel uses it, Israel must be told. But see, nobody is holier than thou in this game. But one thing is also sure now that we are discussing the aspects of humanitarian law. A lot of countries take advantage of putting their civilians next to the target. When, like in Palestine, Hamas, they did it when Israel was attacking them. Now you hide people under the hospital, your terrorists under the hospital, or your target is next to the hospital. I attack the target, the hospital gets destroyed. If I, in the center of Delhi, if I position missiles, the enemy will come and attack that place. What happened to civilians? They'll die. But the media will only report the civilians died. This is the aspect which we have to be very careful of. So the military observer groups, which are supposed to be there, they have to be encouraged. And this is that. The international agencies must get in to observe these things. Then only we get the truth out. But you are right, the war will get dirtier by the day, and you never know. Like in the 8 years war between Iraq and Iran, even the chemical weapons were used. Even the biological weapons were used. You'll be surprised. Countries still have the storage of chemical weapons and biological weapons with them. So that's where we have to be very, very careful.
Thank you, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, for in fact joining us and giving us an insight into the current situation when it comes to the use of cluster bombs.